Straight Outta Fresno, a collective aiming to bring more exposure to Fresno's hip-hop and breakdancing scene, is holding a fun event tonight. Here to talk to us about it is Fresno State professors. We have Sean and Romeo, and we have Leah as well. Good morning to you guys.
Good morning.
It's nice to have you. Okay, tell us what's happening tonight. This sounds really fun.
Yeah, so after a year of doing interviews and collecting flyers, photographs, all kinds of material objects, we're actually going to show that archive, show those documents through an exhibit at Fresno tonight.
Okay. How far back do those photographs, where did you guys find those?
We're talking about like late 1970s to early 2000s.
Okay.
And we found them, people have given them to us, some of them we found online. A lot of them we had to scan at really high resolutions and we blew them up. So these photographs are both from people that gave them to us, but they're in a different context. So we're hoping that folks that gave them to us as well will be surprised to see the ways in which they fit, both individually, but as a crew, into this larger history of hip-hop in Fresno.
Obviously, you all know about this in the program, the history, but when you talk to people on the street, are they surprised to know that Fresno has a history with this type of dancing?
It's a mixture. I think a lot of people are familiar with what had happened. People have family, friends, they're involved in those networks, and so for a lot of people that we talk to, we get a lot of like, oh yeah, I remember that, or I knew someone that did that, and then people that participated in it as well. So I think they're happy to see the history being brought to kind of a more public light. But yeah, you still run into people that this was surprising a little bit, but not as much as you would think. I think people were familiar that these people were vocal enough and visible enough that it's kind of seeing it come back to light.
It's interesting. Leah, as a student in the program, what is it like for you?
It's kind of eye-opening. It's amazing because we were talking about how we were trying to open up the archive so more people can expand the narrative of Fresno, and it's something I didn't know about. And it's amazing how these dancers, sometimes people look down at dancing, but they use it to, take their life off the street and do something with themselves. So it's a wonderful history.
It's art, and it is history here in our area. What have you learned, and why were you drawn to this program in the first place?
I love learning new stories, and it was, I want to work in the museum one day, so I heard that they're putting an exhibit together, so it was like, oh, I had to get on this.
How exciting. And we'll be able to see a lot of that tonight, right? So where is this event?
It's at 1919 Fresno Street, which is at the Fresco Gallery, right above the Crescent Theater.
Okay, and it's actually all day today. It's 3 to 10?
Kind of. From 3 to 6, we're going to be doing what we call walking oral histories and scanning anything that people have. So anyone who was part of the movement, who was part of the breaker, who was a popper, can come tell us their story, and that'll be in the archive. And then from about 6 to 9, we'll have the actual exhibit, and we'll have a reception, we'll have some readings, we'll have a performance.
How fun. Thank you all so much for waking up so early, being here. Coming up here in just a few minutes, too, we're going to have some dancing here in the studio, so you'll get a little taste of the really cool stuff that's happening here. Thank you all so much for being here.